Shall we get into unboxing and first impressions of what came out the box?
Yeah, the hardware, the big kahuna. So I took out the Switch, the screen, and everyone had been saying that the Switch screen was lighter than they thought it would be. And so that maybe made my expectations a bit different from some other people going into this. But I took it out and I was like, wow, this is pretty weighty. Like, it's not heavy, but it's weighty in a way that you want an iPad or a premium electronic device to feel, right? So that already the heftiness of the screen was like, oh man, this is really nice. Like it's quite small.
Dense.
It feels very dense. It's very compacted, and you would imagine it has to be because it's essentially packing the power of a Wii U plus more into this screen size, right?
Tablet.
Like it's absolutely throwing all the stuff in there. So that was my first thing, was like, this is a real solid piece of kit, you know? How about you?
I said this in my unboxing video, but every time I've seen a Switch or like in people's hands, it's looked quite big. But when you actually feel it for yourself, I think it feels a lot smaller and sleeker. And like once I got it out and stuff, I was just dying to get the Joy-Cons out. I was attaching them to the what do you call the wrist straps first?
I have not even attempted to attach the wrist straps because, first of all, I don't need them for anything right now because I'm playing Zelda. Also because I have seen various people on Twitter and on the internet saying that they fucked up their Joy-Cons by putting the wrist strap on wrong. So I didn't want to even get close to that.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not too difficult, I don't think, because they do have like plus and minus buttons in it, so it's just about matching up that plus and minus. I think it works really well. I didn't realize how metallic all the rails were. So the Joy-Cons themselves have these metallic rails. The Joy-Con grip's got these metallic rails, and so do the wrist straps. And it is very, very jolty. Like it's very like stiff initially, and I think I've done it a few times and it's already a little bit smoother, which is actually more suitable.
That's interesting. I found mine was relatively smooth from the off, honestly. It didn't feel like it was sticking too hard or having me to force it. Like it felt like it slid on and clicked perfectly. So that was I mean,
fun. And it is a great clicking feeling. Like it is.
Yeah. How are you feeling about the Joy-Cons then? Because those are kind of the next thing you take out of the box and you look at them and you're like, yeah, these are about as small as I thought they would be. And I think that's the difference, is like the Switch screen on its own looks way smaller than you expect, but as soon as the Joy-Cons are on it, you're like, yeah, okay, this is the size I expected the Switch to be.
I mean, back with the Wii, I remember taking the Wiimotes out of the box and being shocked at how small they felt. But so many people had said...
that is my exact story. Like, I walk into Ali G's house, you hand me a Wii remote, and I'm like, what the fuck? Why is it this small? Like, I thought it was going to be a television remote size, and you hand it to me, and I'm like, wow, this is actually tiny. Like, it's astonishing.
And I mean, in terms of width, I don't think Wii remotes are particularly much wider than Joy-Cons.
Maybe not. No, they are probably similar.
So I was prepared for them to be small, but they are super small. And I think that turning on its side feels weird. I've obviously not played anything to do that yet, but like I said, with the wrist straps, that they do feel like a proper little controller, even if it is a bit overly small. But I think they are usable. Like I used the word doable in my opening. Like it's you can get by with that, and it's a cool feature. But when the Joy-Con are on the side of the tablet, first of all, that clicking sensation is the best one. Partly, I think because
do you mean that?
Yeah, like because the tablet is so weighty, I think just putting the Joy-Con on the tablet just feels so satisfying, especially if you've just been playing on the TV screen and you take the Joy-Con off from the Joy-Con grip and you put them onto the Switch tablet and then you lift it up and it just all clicks and it's so seamless. I think all of that feels incredibly easy and straightforward and works really nicely.
It's great industrial design. It just feels like it's meant to be. The click sound is awesome. It just seamlessly works in a way that is so much fun to do, like, and that's one of the things about Nintendo's products, I think, is like they feel fun to interact with and to use, and the Switch is kind of that distilled. in a really cool way. So yeah, the Joy-Cons, they're good, they work. Let's talk about the Joy-Con grip, because I think this is a thing of great contention amongst a lot of people. Is it worthy to just use that? Should you have to get a Pro controller? A lot of people are asking these questions before launch. Yeah. I think that the Joy-Con grip is great, and I think it works exactly how I want it to feel. It doesn't feel as good as a Wii U Pro controller, or I imagine a Switch Pro controller, but as a controller that I need to use to play Zelda, I have had zero issues with it. I have not had any Joy-Con desync that people are reporting. It has worked perfectly well. I will say I'm sitting right next to the Switch. In fact, I'm close enough to where I can plug headphones into the Switch and listen to it while playing. So that's kind of the distance we're dealing with here. So I wouldn't necessarily say I'm the best case if you're trying to figure out whether they desync or not. But I haven't had that issue, and generally all the buttons feel good, and it works well in this little thing, and it feels like a normal controller should. Maybe some people are having the issue of the analog sticks being a little bit too straight, as opposed to kind of the offset versions that you usually get, like inside and outside on other controllers. How have you felt using the grip, Bally? Has it been to your liking?
The grip looks weird, but feels good. It feels like a small controller. It feels smaller than like a GameCube controller almost.
I'm getting kind of Wavebird vibes from it, honestly.
Yeah, it feels good, and I like it, and it works really well with the design of the Joy-Con and the Switch, etc. I would be up for getting the Switch Pro controller for sure.
As soon as it drops in price from its extreme... As soon as it drops in price,
would I be tempted to even go for it now? Maybe not. But
I don't feel like I need it, is the thing. Like, I think the Joy-Con grip has done me perfectly well for Zelda, and Zelda being a game where I don't need a proper D-pad, it just has worked perfectly without, having to worry about that stuff.
It's a very... When you talk about like design and innovation, and you talk about all the great ideas Nintendo comes up with, when you see especially the blue and yellow Joy-Con just on the Pro controller, not the Pro controller, the Joy-Con grip, sorry, I just sort of look at it and I'm like, that takes a lot of like thinking and design, and it's very slick the way that it comes from the grip onto the Switch itself. Like once you actually see it in action, I was very impressed by, you know what, this is like a chunk of plastic that works really well, and like it's really suited to what they're trying to do with this. I would like a Pro controller in the sense where I can just leave my Switch attached to the Joy-Cons in the Switch dock and just have the Pro controller and never really have to think about taking the Joy-Con off and putting them in the grip and vice versa. And that might help me in the long run in like preserving the rails and things like that. I don't know.
Exactly, because you won't be sliding as much.
Exactly. So that might reduce the sliding, and it makes it quicker to swap from the two modes, from TV mode to handheld mode as well, which is quite
exactly.
Nice,
because you don't have to go through the faff of taking them off and putting them in the grip and all that stuff.
So that will be nice in the future, but for now, you're right, Zelda feels great. I think the analog sticks are very small, but they work really well. The whole thing feels small, but my hands aren't sore, even when I'm playing with the grip or the system itself. The buttons are small, yes, but my hands aren't sore because
the thing is, like,
cramped.
the buttons are essentially 3DS size, and I've never had a problem in the past playing a bunch of 3DS for a long time. I know some people have like hand issues where they cramp up and stuff. I've never, not once with any handheld Vita, 3DS, anything, had issues like that. So I've been perfectly okay with the buttons. I would, of course, prefer bigger ones. I like the more squishy style buttons.
You like squishy over sort of
clicky.
The click.
Yeah, I do. I've always been a fan of the DS Lite because it had the softest buttons of any Nintendo portable. And they never went back to it, and that saddened me. But, these buttons work. They're fine. I think overall the analog stick placement, a little awkward, but I think it's fine. The one thing that has annoyed me is the placement of the minus button. The problem with that, and I keep going to it to open the map in Zelda.
Yeah, it's the map. It's a big button.
It is a very useful button. And the thing is, on the right-hand side, you're fine because you just have the face buttons and the plus, so you're not really knocking against anything. When you're going to hit that minus button, I've often found Link moving forward a little bit because I've knocked the analog stick forward, right?
Yeah.
And that is an awkward place. I found myself sometimes being like taking my other hand all the way across the controller just to tap that minus button because I don't want to fucking walk off the side of a tower in Breath of the Wild,
Yeah.
you know? Like, it has become a thing that I think, you know, it's not an action button. It's not relied on in the middle of combat or anything, but it's a useful button that I think is in a bad place, unfortunately. If you enjoyed this discussion and would like to hear more, consider subscribing to us on YouTube and following the podcast playlist. You can also find us on iTunes and various other places. Follow us on Twitter at TNL Podcast and email us thisnintendolife@gmail.com. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.